Welcome everyone, this is Honest Restart, and today is going to be a fairly quick video. I'm actually kind of just recording this during my lunch. I am busy with work and stuff. I don't have that much time to make a fully dedicated video. There's a number of little things that will be sourced in the description. I do recommend you check those out afterwards, but I will be alluding to them in this quick little recording here. But basically, as the title may suggest, I'm kind of at a point where I am tired of these Switch Pro rumors. And now, I'm saying Switch Pro for now, but maybe it's Switch 2, Switch 1.5, Switch Plus, Switch 4K. I don't know what it will eventually be. And some people may think, if anything ever, because the reality of the situation is, we've been through this rodeo before. It seems like almost every year, there is this moment close to the middle of the year where there's these different things lining up, and all of a sudden it feels like there's enough compelling mounting evidence where people are like, you know what, this is it, the Switch Pro is finally happening. And then time passes and nothing. Recently, we didn't get nothing, we got something. What we got was a Splatoon 3 OLED version, and it looks awesome. It is sick, but it's basically just a reskin of a Nintendo Switch OLED along with a Pro controller. And it's great. Again, it does look pretty darn awesome, and it does explain why the Switch Lite trailer and the Switch OLED trailer were taken down, because they had a whole other variant that they wanted to market. That makes sense. And it may also be the case that there were some licensing things that were expiring. That may also have to do with why they were taken down and why we got this one. But as excitedly I talked about the premise of new Switch hardware coming out or being announced soon, I feel like I did a good job of saying quite blatantly, I do not believe this. This seems unlikely. As excited as I am about the prospect of it, I just don't think this is likely to happen. And sure enough, it's not actually happening, not yet. And that's where I'm sort of gonna bring in more information that will be sourced in the description below, but I don't have time to go into full detail here. We recently discovered another patent where Nintendo is looking into some sort of intelligence, some sort of algorithm that is improving the visual output from one point to another, something similar to the often touted DLSS that we're supposedly getting in the next big Switch revision that's been rumored, and it will make games look a lot better with minimal additional power. And that's awesome. I love that Nintendo is looking into this technology. I do believe it will eventually happen. But there's more. We recently got news that sales for Switch in Japan have gone down about 33%. The first thought that comes to mind is, oh, sales are going down, Nintendo does need to give us a revision or the next generation system. They need to move on. But this is where confirmation bias sort of kicks in, right? The first thought is that, but the reasoning why sales are going down isn't because people aren't buying Switches, it's because Nintendo can't make enough Switches. Because there are supply shortages. So the reality of the situation here is that Switch, when it is available, is selling really well. Nintendo's doing well with things as they are, and there isn't necessarily a need to come out with new hardware quite yet. But wait, there's more. Apparently, somebody was telling us that there was going to be a Splatoon 3 OLED with the trailer, and they told us when it would be revealed, and they were right. Apparently they have an inside knowledge as to the manufacturing process of the Switch. And apparently, they're saying that a more powerful Switch revision will be coming out later this year. So even though we just got this awesome new OLED reskin based off Splatoon 3, there is another Switch revision supposedly releasing a few more months later down the road this year. And I don't necessarily want to just jump on this bandwagon again, because how many times are we going to get burned, right? Now, there will eventually be new hardware. We do see revisions every 2 years or so. This year's 2022 though, we just got the OLED last October. is it really sensible to think that Nintendo will give us another revision just a year later? And will it be a more expensive revision after they just gave us a more expensive revision? That seems to go a little bit against the pattern for Switch, although on 3DS we saw systems come out every 13 to 15 months or so, so it's not that much of a stretch. Considering how late we are into the Switch's life cycle, it could conceivably happen, but I am still skeptical. Now, this has been said a few times already, but Nintendo, when asked about new hardware coming out this year, they did not deny that possibility. Usually that's a sign that there is new hardware planned for this year, or for whatever year they are asked that question during their investors meetings. There was the literal actual leak of Nvidia doing research and development for a SoC for a Switch variant, and we are approaching the 6-year anniversary for the Nintendo Switch. Point is, it is logical to think that yes, new hardware is coming soon. But how soon? Is it really coming later this year? Maybe. But I'm gonna need something more substantial than this to fully buy into it. I do not want to fully buy into this because, well, there's reason to think that they won't rush into it either. I could see it happening next year, but probably not until late next year. Even though there's a history of Zelda being used to push new hardware, and Breath of the Wild 2 was delayed to spring 2023, and it may line up with the whole Switch anniversary thing, and maybe it would be really interesting to see a Switch 2 or Switch 4K launch alongside Breath of the Wild 2 next March. That still is sooner than expected based off how Nintendo's been releasing new hardware for Switch. Now, it would be later than the supposed holiday release that we're getting for this year, but I'm still skeptical of even that happening. But to sum up my thoughts here, there is a number of signs pointing towards new hardware, but there are also other signs suggesting that it might not be ready quite yet. There are supply shortages. The pattern of how often Nintendo releases hardware suggests that they're going to take a little bit longer. So ultimately, while I love the idea of getting a Metroid Prime remake and being able to play it in 4K, or being able to play Breath of the Wild 2 in 4K, or being able to play Xenoblade Chronicles 3 in 4K at 60 frames per second, or Monster Hunter Rise at 60 frames per second, I'm going to try and quell my excitement and my speculation for this until something a bit more substantial comes out. It's totally possible that next week we'll get like a leaked image of this hardware and it'll seem very believable, and then I'll be like, alright, here we go. But I'm gonna try my best to just consider the possibilities here. It might come sooner than we expect, but it also might come a fair bit later than we expect. So we'll see what happens. If I were to offer up a prediction, this is my prediction. There will be new hardware by the end of 2023, which is still a ways off from now. It's not necessarily as soon as this holiday. It's not even necessarily as soon as March 2023. I could see us waiting all the way up until the holiday of 2023. But it does depend what kind of hardware that is. Maybe Nintendo does want to do a mid-gen refresh where it's just a little bit more powerful, and they'll use that system to stave things off for a couple more years until they're actually ready for that full-on next generational leap. Or they wait and we get that next generational leap at the end of next year, or perhaps sometime in 2024. But my prediction is some type of new hardware that will be more powerful by the end of 2023. But we shall see what happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below of all these rumors and sources and patents and different things. I'm curious what you guys have to say. Let me know. But that's all for now, everyone. This is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care.